What's happening? How are we? It is Inspire and Be Inspired. Today I am joined by an incredible gentleman from London town. I've known him for coming up to 3 decades now, and we're going to be talking about his involvement in the music scene and how he himself is also one of London's most respected producers and DJs. I bring him onto the screen and say, good day, Mr. Danny Foster. How are you, sir? You all right?
Evening, Anne. How are you, brother?
I'm very good. I'm very good. So let me begin, just for the sake of clarity. We've been having nothing but technical issues. Well, I've been having nothing but technical issues in the run up to this. I'm working off of one screen. So even though when I'm listening and talking to Danny, it might look like my eyes are all over the shop, it's because I'm having to look at him at a different screen than usual. And hopefully I'll be getting 1 or 2 people passing through to say hello. And as always, I invite the people who check out the recording to leave a comment. So my eyes are flitting all across the screen. Everything is working. Big Man Boy is saying a shout out on YouTube. So I know we're live, Dan, and we're good to go. It is the glorious hour of 8 o'clock here on the Cluster Blanca. Danny has rushed back from work to join me 7 o'clock out and about in digs. So where do we begin this conversation, Mr. Danny Foster of Underground Solution? We will get to talk about how you became one of the UK's, would you consider yourself one of the founding fathers of the UK garage movement back in the day? Is that a fair? Well,
yeah, I suppose so. I see Blues and Soul magazine put me down as one of the founders of the scene. So I suppose I am really. I mean, I remember being there. And, you know, yourself, man, we were speeding up the US dubs. You know, we was flipping the ball over, playing the dubs and speeding them up. And I can remember first hearing Matt Jam and Carl, and I hit on that sort of sound straight away, you know. I think because previous to that, I was making a few hardcore tunes. I was doing stuff with, you know, Saxon sound, the reggae sound. I was doing stuff with Saxon, and the first track I did was a track with Philip Levi, Papa Levi, and I kind of used a breakbeat and some Tina Marie samples and that, and that's really the first sort of track I ever tried to do.
Well, we've got way ahead of ourselves here, and like I said before, with regards to the recording, is actually. I've lost the camera. Let me see if I can still see you. I can still see your face. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to carry on doing this because I'll edit all of this together a little bit later on. It just means that if anybody's watching, there is no Danny on the screen, unfortunately. Let me see if I can get this work. Right, I fixed it. I don't know if it's me or you or what's going on. So we jumped in way too soon there. You started telling me about all of your productions. I want to find out about how you got to that point. So tell me when you were born, what area you were born. Are you as much of a wide boy as I think you are? And tell me about, you know, the person you are to get you to like junior school.
I was born in Lewisham, 1964, well, Lee Green. And then we moved to Eltham, SE9, which is where I spent most of my years growing up. And I think it was there that I got into soul music, really, through my older sister, Karen, who used to listen to, like, you know, The Real Thing and, you know, the sort of British bands and stuff. And then she took me to a disco in Woolwich called St. Peter's Youth Centre, which had a proper nightclub upstairs. And from that day onwards, that was it. That was like in 1977. And sort of in 78, I was out buying stuff like Evening Champagne King, Shame, and, you know, all them tunes, Ronnie Harris, 6 Million Steps. And I just started buying the vinyl. And in them days, we used to go to Derek's record shop in Out My Street and order them from America and wait a couple of weeks for them to come in. And then people would say to me after the pub and stuff, bring your records, we're going to an after party. And I would just sit there and play them on one deck.
What, like 14 years of age?
14, 15, yeah. I was drinking in pubs and that around South East London at the age of 14, 15.
Nice. Okay, so that was your baptism into the afters, so to speak.
Yeah.
And was so the South London, was it? I mean, just an obvious question. Were you rolling around with high society, or was it the underworld?
Well, on our estate, there weren't really any high society, and we had a little crew called the S.O.U.L Patrol.
Okay.
And we used to go to places like the Lyceum, the 100 Club. There used to be crackers. Friday afternoon, people used to turn their school uniform inside out, take the tie off, turn the blazer inside out, and go crackers or Global Village or places like that.
Brilliant. I've heard that story many a time. Beautiful.
Yeah. Paul Trouble used to go there, Mickey Sue, Bobby and Steve, all them boys.
Mm-hmm.
We was only 15, 16, I suppose.
Brilliant. And were you a bit of a dancer, or did you leave that to everyone else?
Yeah. No, I still am a really good dancer. I'm actually one of them white boys who can dance. I could actually take you through all the different dances from the 70s, the snap, the rock, all of them.
Okay, well, why have I never seen you dance? I've never seen you dance.
You've seen me dance on a Sunday night at the Sunday lockdown in Birmingham. You took me there.
Uh-huh. Well, that was we got stories from that, right?
What's that?
I said we got some stories from that place.
Oh, mate, that was gangster's paradise, wasn't it?
Did we ever go for a curry after as well?
I think we might have done, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about some wonderful stories and a timeline that's been repeated by many people. My peers, your friends back in the day. So then, how were you buying the records? Were you? Do you have a paper round? What were you doing to get money together?
That was embarrassing because it was my mum's friend and it was the local news shopper, and I just used to dump them over the allotment. And it all come on top for me. My mum's friend was like, "Oh, I can't believe we trusted you to do it. You've been taking this money for months. No one's had their local paper."
Dear, oh dear. Did you ever apart from that, did you ever bring any trouble to the door?
Yeah, when I was a kid, all the time.
Mm-hmm. I've got in my mind, again, forgive me, boxing. Were you into boxing?
Yeah, I was a boxer from the age of 9 to when I was sort of 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up when I was about 25, yeah. I was actually London schoolboy champion at the age of 13.
Nice. See, there are some facts deep down inside here.
Yeah. Which brought me nothing but trouble because kids would come from other areas just to want to fight me all the time. Mm-hmm. So they say they could beat up the London champion.
But they never did.
Yeah, a few of them did. Yeah.
I love it. So tell me then about when things started to get more lively out and about in the clubs, and as the scene changed, the London scene changed, and the house came about. Yeah,
well, I wasn't really into the rave thing, as it were. I was always still playing my rare groove and my funk and my soul and that. And in the end of 91, I was playing at a party and Taff and Gary were there from Release the Pressure. And Taff come up to me and he said, "Oh, I love what you're doing." He said, "We're taking over the Café de Paris next week. We're wondering if you're interested in doing the second room all night on your own and have guests every week." And I was like blown away, you know what I mean? I was like, God, definitely, because I've been to a few Release the Pressure dues with, I used to be good friends with Boy George's brother, Jerry, We used to put on back in the day, and he took me to a few Release the Pressure. So yeah, that was it, and that was it. It kicked off for me from there, from working with Taff and Gary. Also down to Taff, really.
So did you say 91?
91, yeah.
Wow. Because I always Cafe de Paris was one of those places that, being in Birmingham, I'd always hear about, but I never actually made it down to see. Legendary. A lot of my friends talk about it. It's difficult. It was just like a normal, like a mainstream club most of the time. But then they came on and started to change more underground. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, Release the Pressure went in there on a Saturday night, and Peach was in there on a Friday night.
Okay. Gary has actually told me all of this, and it's gone clean out of my head.
Yeah. Yes, and that was it was an amazing venue. It's actually an exact copy of the ballroom on the Titanic.
Okay.
And it's round, and they had 4 massive JBL stacks. And if you stood in the middle of the dance floor, the bass would actually push you along. It was the best sound system.
Nice. So tell me about some of the nights then that you would have been holding down the residency in the second room.
Well, I started in the second room. I was only supposed to be playing funk and soul and that, but I kept slipping in some soulful house, and Taff and Gary would come and tell me off. And then I used to have some nights it would be me and Rubber. You know Rubber Ronsky? Mm-hmm. Who does the fetish night?
Yeah.
Nicky, what's his name with the beard? Nicky, I forget his name. But all different people. Julian Jonah used to drive me down there a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So me quite a lot. Yeah, quite a few different DJs have come down there. Rob Atterson,
was
Chrissy
Dean,
T, I think, come down there. Anyone who was known
was Dean the resident with you then as well, or was Dean a little bit later? Dean Savon.
Dean was resident from the beginning, but in the main room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Jeremy
in the main
as well.
Room, Dean Savon, Ricky Morrison, Jeremy Newell, Jazzy M. I think that they was mainly residents. And Ricky was late one night, so they said to me, "Oh, you got some soulful house on you?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, go and play Ricky's set." And then that was me. Then I was in the main room from then on.
But the thing is, they wouldn't have been calling it Soulful House in 1991 and 1992. It would have just been like Mellow House, probably.
Yeah, it was just house, wasn't it?
Yeah. So let me just pause. Yeah, it was just garage back then.
Yeah, they was calling it US. Well, they were just. It's not US garage. They were just calling it garage.
It was just garage.
UK garage was. Yeah.
UK garage was much later. So let me just say, there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to try my best to not talk over you. I want to say hi to Emily and to Matt who are joining us. Hey, you guys. We are plagued with technical issues tonight, but we're having a great conversation all the same. So was there any moments where you felt you'd arrived, Dan?
Yeah, I think Gary and Taff put on a big party at Astoria. And I think they had Benji Candelario over, Danny Morales, and Victor. And when they did when the magazine thing of DJs, and they did the write-up for it, they said that I'd played the best set. So, that was probably the best moment.
Mm-hmm. And were you getting people sniffing around outside of London, or were you actively pushing yourself? Were you any good back in the day at pushing yourself, would you say?
I've never pushed myself, and I've never been any good at pushing myself. I'm not the sort of person who bring round promoters trying to get work. It's just not me. But Gary and Taff started an agency. So I started to go out to doing warm-up for Victor Simonelli, Danny Morales, Benji Candelario, Lenny Fontana. So I would travel to the club with them. I'd do the warm-up and they'd do the main set. And then clubs would just ask me back. And that's how I got to play all over the country.
Mm-hmm. Some of your fondest memories of some of your favourite cities that you went to?
I don't think it's any. I mean, I love Wales. I love Swansea and Cardiff. They're such friendly people, and you always get invited to an after party. I had a great time with you up in Birmingham.
That's a given.
I always used to meet people who were kind of like us. You know, the party wasn't over. The fun began when the club was finished and we went off to an after party and meet the people who was at the club all night, and everyone, we'd all get mashed up and it would be great. And that used to happen quite a lot in Bristol, in Birmingham, in Cardiff, in Swansea, in Liverpool, everywhere really, man. Everywhere we went, it's just those kind of people, isn't it, that you meet who would come up, what are you doing after? Do you want to come and play at an after party? And you're like, yeah, of course.
Why wouldn't I? Okay, so that'll take you through into the mid-90s, and then when you would have started off the beginning of the conversation talking about the music you were playing, and you started flipping the script, so to speak. So this is around the same time, or was that slightly before that you were talking about, like the break beats and then the music you were producing?
No, the break beat stuff I was sort of doing in 1990 when I decided that I was going to try and make some tunes, because I actually wrote songs and played percussion for a band at school.
Okay.
And we all had, like, the drummer was into rock. One of the guitarists was into rock, the lead guitarist. There was only me and the lead singer who were really soul boys. So it didn't really get off the ground. And I think it was about 1989, 1990, I went round a friend's house and his dad had a drum machine, a DX7, a sequencer, and he was showing me how he was using it. And I thought, yeah, that's for me. I'll have a go at that. So I went and bought all the gear, no idea how to use it all, and just started mucking about with it and a sampler. And me and my mate just started sampling people, and I sampled Papa Levi and Tina Marie and some break beats and some other bits and pieces. And we went into a studio, put it together, and it just blew up. It got to number 2 in the Kiss chart. And we ended up going on tour with Pat Sharp and Mick Brown.
Jesus! So remind me of the name of the outfit and the name of the track again. Just reconfirm that.
It's called Massive and Large by Sealer.
Massive and Large.
Yeah, there's just a bit at the beginning of one of Papa Levi's tune. He goes, "Jump on me big, broad, massive and large. Jump on me bigger, me broad, me massive and large." And that was it. Just with a keyboard going.
Right,
it was rubbish.
It sounds very much like you stole from Derek May. Was it like? It sounds like a Derek May riff.
There's a one finger.
Brilliant. But that set you up. That whet your appetite for the studio life.
Yeah, and we got picked up by Capital Radio and went on tour with them, with Pat Sharp and Mick Brown, and then with David Kid Jensen. So straight away we got Saxon involved, and they come along, and he would chat the lyrics live over our rhythm. Papa Levi would come along and do the PAs with us to all these different clubs, and it was amazing. considering it was the first time we've ever had a go at it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I kind of got the bug then.
Did you feel like a duck out of water around all the pretty straight laced bunch?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No mullet though. No mullet, right? No mullet back then.
Well, not really. A little bit of money. I started up my own label called Tumpin Records.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I actually said mullet, but we'll talk about money. That's all good. So how did that go then? What kind of numbers were you pressing up?
We was doing sort of like 500 at a time, and I think we got to about 1,000 on our first tune, and then we did another one, and that bombed. And I decided I just wanted to do garage. I didn't want to do the US garage, you know. I didn't want to do hardcore or breakbeat or drum and bass.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done a good starting point, you know, because it's just all samples. It was just all samples. And it was a good starting point, but I actually I was more into, I grew up on disco, you know, so house music, I think someone once said house music is just disco on a budget. And, you know, that's what I wanted to do. So I concentrated on that.
Mm-hmm. So by the time, so that would have ran kind of previously to the story that we had got to in the timeline. So by the time you did start making the garage, who did you look to as, what producers did you look to emulate their drums? Because you had a very, very polished sound, a raw sound, but a polished sound, very, what's the word? Like signature sound to what you were doing. So who did you kind of emulate?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was writing a song for a DJ who wanted to become a singer. I won't name him because he had a dreadful voice and it never worked out. But the guy from the record company took me to a studio, and it was T-Smooth's studio. You know, T-Smooth was doing stuff on a S.O.U.L, and he just made this dub, and I just picked this dub up, and it was Caress, Love a Wonderful Thing. Remember that tune?
With a K, Caress with a K. Yeah.
Oh, what a wonderful thing love
can be. Yeah, wicked tune.
It was a Karen White sample. So I'd gone to this studio. I've never met Trevor. We started chatting. And I'm from Lewisham. He's from Catford. We knew all the same people. And we're just chatting, not getting any work done. And this guy from Europe said, "Oh, come, we've got to get this song down." Anyway, I'm trying to teach this guy the song. And it's just all over the place. So when they finished, Trevor said to me, "Oh, stick around for a little while." So I said, "All right." So I stuck around. He went, "Go in and sing the song." I was like, "I ain't singing the song. I'm not a singer." He was going, "Go on, D, go and sing the song." I was like, "No way, I ain't singing the song." So he said, "Oh, should we knock something else up then?" So I said, "All right." I said, "What you got?" He went, "Well, I got this tune, and it was Caress, but he didn't have a song for it." So we sat and wrote a song for it. And that was it after that. He started ringing me and going, like in the middle of the night, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I was sleeping." He go, "Come studio." And I go, "Oh, come studio. You got a girl there?" I said, "No, I ain't got a girl there." He go, "Come studio then." We're like, "Yeah, all right, I'll come studio." And then that was it. And then we got a studio together in Clapham after a little while. And
so this is 95-ish?
No. This was 93. Okay. 93, 94.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. We must have done a good 6 months of recording before we let anything off.
Mm-hmm. But the Caress didn't come till much later, right? The actual release. The Caress didn't actually see the light of day until much later.
Yeah, it actually got a release in 95.
Okay.
And then it got a white label release. And then it got a proper release in 96. And it got another release in 98, something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's where I was getting confused with the timeline, because that was one of my favorite tunes, and that all these timelines are all blurring into one for me. So did you begin immediately as Underground Solution? Well,
originally Underground Solution was Booker T and Trevor, Booker T and T Smooth.
Okay. But so the question I wanted to ask was, how did they come up with the name Underground Solution when Victor was already Underground Solution?
No, what's his name was the Underground Solution, wasn't he? Roger Sanchez.
Was it really? Oh yeah, of course it was.
Love Dance.
Yeah, of course. So why am I? And then I don't know, didn't Victor then release his Underground Solution as well?
No, he just released it as Solution, didn't he?
Solution. That's where I'm. Shut up, Wardy. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So you're right. So
No,
same question. Why did they teeth off Roger Sanchez?
Booker and Trevor just thought they'd teeth the name. And I said, you can't do that. I said, and Trevor went, well, right, we'll put an S on the end, and we became Underground Solutions.
Oh, that makes it all better then.
Yeah, you know what Booker and Trevor are like, anyway.
I've spoken to Booker and I completely didn't realise that was he started off. So then you and he.
Yeah, me and Trev, yeah, and there was a guy at independent label in Battersea. They had a lot of independent labels there. They had One Little Indian, quite a few, and they was doing really well. And he kept coming to our parties, and we got the Ann Nesby. It was a Saturday morning, and the Ann Nesby Can I Get a Witness had come through the letterbox. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
On PM. And it had the a cappella on it, and there was just this little bit that went, release the pressure, that's my golden rule. So I woke Trevor up. I went, come on. I said, let's nick this bit, release the pressure. I said, I've been at Release the Pressure for ages. Gary Dillon will love it. So anyway, did it. Played it to Gary. I don't know. Had that on his table for about a year. But I got it cut as a dub down with Freddie Freshplate and started playing it. And me and Carl Brown were both playing on a Sunday. And I played it, and he went to me, I've just sampled that. He sampled it for his Carl Brown Tough Enough dub play. I said, oh, well, whatever, we'll see. And there was a guy there who came up to me. He said, what are you doing with that tune? He said, I work for a record company. I said, I don't know, mate. I said, I just done it for myself. And he said, well, you got anything else? So he come to the studio, listen, and we stuck out a 4-track EP with him. And it just sold. Like so many, every record shop I was going in said to me, oh, you got any more of them? You got any more? We sold out. And we was doing like 1,000 a day. And that was one of the first UK garage EPs, but it was more or less, it was 1993, 94, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And by this time, had the Sunday scene kicked off, and were you down at Gray's Inn and things like that? Yeah,
well, Gray's Inn was a bit later. We started the Arches.
The Arches, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, Timmy Ranjam came up to me at Aquarium, and he went, Cafe de Paris, he said, I'm starting to do a Sunday daytime at the Arches, but I haven't got any money. Will you come and help us out? So it was him, Dave Courtney, and someone else. So I thought, that might be handy, calling a favour somewhere down the line, someone owes you some money or whatever. So I thought, yeah. So it was me, Carl, Matt, Mickey Sims, a few other people came and went,
Mm-hmm.
But that was up Sunday. And I started I started playing a place called the Twilight Zone, me and Andy B on a Sunday morning as well. That would open at 5 and it'll finish at 2. And the Arches opened at sort of like 1 o'clock. So we go Calf, Twilight Zone, Arches, and then someone's house for Crazy Mondays.
Yeah, madness. Literally madness. Let me just say good evening to Steve Seck, to Sinewave, to GC and Danny McCarthy. Respect, guys. I try and make it as interactive as I can. Obviously, when you're watching, I'll wait for a break in the conversation to say hi. Feel free to ask Danny any questions or draw reference to any of his tunes. So yeah, and the hype is building around this time as well. Ministry's obviously long since opened, and the Sunday scene is rolling. everyone else is starting to bring out these tunes, and you're getting a lot of press as well, right? A lot of press.
Yeah, they were on us because it was something new. And, you know, the music press, they don't really have a lot of new things to write about, you know? So when the UK Garage thing, they called it the Sunday morning sound, I think, to begin with. And the UKG thing came along quite a bit later. But, yeah, I mean, some of the Sunday clubs were playing the sort of stuff that you could hear in Ministry on a Saturday night. But we were playing the dubs, the US dubs, flipped them over and we were speeding them up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in hindsight, it's always easy to romanticize about what you were doing and why you did it. But at the time, do you ever remember it as being a calculated thing, or it was just a case of this is the sound that we like? It was a darker sound. There was a more edge to it.
Yeah. I think that was it, because I think because we kind of I kind of came from a disco sort of background and funk and soul, but I think it's when I kind of got into the sort of hardcore breakbeat stuff, to finding this sort of garage with that sort of skip and that energy kind of like bridged the gap between the two, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a sound that I kind of locked into, and my friends who I was sort of knocking about with at the time, we kind of all sort of locked onto it around the same time, you know, sort of just going to clubs and after parties and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I did ask you, and we veered off. How did you happen upon your sound? Who was the one responsible for, you know, the really great drums?
Well, it was a funny thing because we kind of started sampling hardcore records, mixing them together and then slowing them down. And then Trevor would play some snares over the top of stuff. I mean, if you ever remember a track we did for Gary Dillon called Switch, that was...
Not immediately.
Yeah, that was... he had a touch with that, by the way. He got 20 grand sponsorship.
and gave you 500 quid.
He didn't give us anything. No, he gave us a couple of $100. He got 20 grand sponsorship from Evian. But yeah, that track was because we were desperately trying to sound like US, you know, but we just couldn't get that sound. We just couldn't get the snares and that, because I think they just use much better studio equipment than us,
mm-hmm.
you know, and we were just a couple of chances, really. But I had all this drum and bass and hardcore and that. And we just started sampling little snippets, slowing them down and putting them together and adding stuff to them. Mm-hmm. And I think we kind of created that sound.
Didn't you ever talk to Ricky? Because Ricky nailed it, right? Didn't you ever ask him how he did it?
Well, I asked a few people, but I got nowhere with them.
Secrets.
Yeah. I always tell people how we do stuff, but a lot of people, they don't like telling. I mean, look at everyone's opened up now, haven't they? They just, MJ Cole, you can go and do tutorial, Grant, everyone. You can have all their stuff. It don't matter anymore. No money in it. But back in the day, people were very, like, sort of, you know.
Protective. Yeah, definitely. They're protected because it's their legacy, it's their sound. And everyone did have their own sound. So you happened upon your sound. So as I say, clean but gritty at the same time. And really, who was responsible for the sonics of it? Because again, your record sounded the most polished out of a lot of them.
Well, Trevor was a reggae producer.
Makes sense.
He was, before me, he worked with Saxon Sound as well. I think Trevor had about 8 or 10 reggae number ones.
Mm.
And he was very good. Like, I was more the ideas man. He was more the sound man. You know? And we both wrote songs together as well. We wrote The Caress, Love a Wonderful Thing, Colour Girl, Tears. We wrote some stuff with Failing Brown. Yeah, we wrote quite a few songs together. But he's very good. His ears are really, really good when it comes to mixing down and stuff, you know?
So that will explain a lot of that. He never DJ'd himself, did he, from what I can remember?
Never interested in DJ. He's quite a shy character, Trevor.
Yeah. So it was always good you being the front man, and you were most definitely a front man. So take us back then to those mid-90s, the heyday of it all going crazy, traveling around a lot. Then, of course, the infamous trips over to Miami. The momentum was rolling, and you were flying high. Was there a lot of big money coming your way for remixes from majors?
Yeah, we used to use our money from remixes for the Miami thing, and you know the trips. Me and Trevor were exactly the same. Spend it as quick as we can. We had
before someone come and took it from you.
Well, it was like thieving, to be honest with you, because getting sort of like 3, 4, 5 grand for a remix. Previous to that, before the garage thing took off, it'd be 500 quid. You know, 500 quid. Yeah, see what you can do with it. Do it on spec, and. But we had a wicked flat on Clapham High Street above a bar with like a disco bar thing. So we had 2 floors. So we had the studio and Trevor's bedroom and a bathroom. And then above that, we had a living room, kitchen, my bedroom and a bathroom, and then a roof terrace above that. And we lived on Clapham High Street. So we sort of we ate out at nice places every night. When we went away, we didn't scrimp. You know, we wouldn't get a hotel room. We'd get a suite, and we just enjoyed ourselves. You know, but then we used to get them suites in Miami. You was there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And we just had the best time because you kind of know in your heart of hearts this ain't never going to happen again. This is a fluke. Yeah. You know, there are a couple of chances. We need to grab it with both hands, have as much fun as possible.
Before the burnout.
Trevor was exactly like me. 1 minute we had loads of money in the bank, next minute we were skinned.
You got to love it.
Bootlegs.
Say that again.
It was time when we were skinned, we'd knock up a couple of bootlegs and we just out straight. Yeah, just take that 500 quid.
Nice. Well, before you got to that point, before the burnout, the label was going well. How many releases did you have on Sounds of Underground London?
We only had 5, to be honest. We had the US Dub Experience, which had Release the Pressure and Tonight on it. I think they were the first. Then we had Get Happy. That did really well. Then we had Deep Sweet Love. And we had a number 1 with Karina Joseph, You're No Good. And then another dub experience with a few dub tracks on. But we was never really very business-minded, me and Trev.
As you've just explained.
Yeah, we was just having a good time, really. You know, I could have put myself out at that time to get loads more gigs, but I didn't bother. I mean, I ended up having I used to have Wednesday night at Nicky Holloway. That's what I was trying to think of. Nicky Holloway, who used to be at the cafe.
Well, I was going to say Nicky Holloway, and I thought, no, he would remember Nicky Holloway.
I couldn't remember him for a minute. But Velvet Underground, Nicky Holloway's club in Charing Cross Road, used to do that on a Wednesday. Mickey Zoo used to do the end on a Thursday. So we did that through Kiss. Friday, I was at Gas. Saturday, I was at Café de Paris. Sundays, I'd be at the Sunday clubs. And yeah, we were just partying the whole time out. Just the whole time. We had a little entourage, you know, of people who we knew from around Clapham would just come around with us all the time, even if we was going up north or to Wales or wherever. It was just a great time. But we wasn't very business-minded at all. We didn't put any money on
Well, as you say that, Paul Radzinski says, I loved Get Happy. I used to smash that track. Love is the message. And then a young chancer by the name of Gary Dillon says, big up Andy and Danny. His ears must have been burning.
Yeah. Yeah, I told him about that 20 grand you got, Gal, and he didn't give me any of it.
Love it, love it. I'd love to have you two on a conversation, actually. That would be jokes for days. Okay, so you've surprised me. Only the 5 releases on the label. I thought there were a lot more than that. You were very prolific on the remix front, though, right?
I can't even remember half the remixes. You know, I went round someone's house a little while ago, like a super fan, this girl from Canada, and she had this. I've never seen half the stuff she had that we did.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That just goes to show how much attention we were paying to it.
Yeah. It's easily done. Easily done. So I guess there's so many stories in that little 3-4 year period. And then the scene started to change. 2-step came in. I know you had a dabble in the 2-step, but you weren't really that hot on it, were you?
I mean, my favourite producer in the whole of the UK garage thing is MJ Cole and Groove Chronicles. They did some amazing 2-step, but the rest of it, I don't know, it was just like seeing who could be the baddest and play the hardest, you know? And that kind of stopped the girls. When it was bumpy, you know, soulful, you had the girls there. Once you lost the girls from the club and it was just geezers and all the trouble and the shootings, and when all that happened, it just killed it, man.
Mm-hmm. But you did do a couple of 2-step records, but not a lot, did you?
We did we must have done about, including remix, probably about 20 or 30, something like that.
2-step, not 2-step.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, really? See, again, my wonderful research has gone down the pan. Name some that, just 1 or 2 then that spring to mind. As Underground Solution.
Yeah. Yeah, we did the Gloria Gaynor, Mighty High for Neo. We did Deep Sweet Love with Angela Wright. We did an R. Kelly thing. No, you shouldn't mention R. Kelly, but we did.
That's all right. Before Infamous, yeah. All right. Well, I won't put you on the spot and ask you to remember them. So obviously,
a lot though. Do you know how I know why, Anne? Because I did a show a while back, and it was 93 to 97, and it was all the 4 to the Floor stuff. And I'm going back to do another show that was all the actually with Steve Sack on his Garage House station. I'm going to go back and do the 2-step years as well. So I think there's about 10, 12, something like that. 2-step tune. We did.
All right. Well, Steve will keep us abreast of that. He's actually drawing reference to my Baseball Records T-shirt from Brian Tharm, which I helped build the website for way back when. And it's a good call, actually, Steve. I hadn't really... I've done Gavin, as they say, but I will get Brian on here and have a chat with him. All right, so back to Mr. Danny Lewis. Danny Foster, sorry. My brain's all over the shop. My computer is glitching out here and it's really throwing me, Dan, so you'll have to forgive me. All right, so yeah, 2-step. And you mentioned about the scene going dark and moody, and the fun completely went out of it. So what was going on in your life then at that time? Give me a snapshot of what life was saying for you.
Well, I mean, I was still playing. I kind of stopped playing the 2-step, and I said, right, that's it. I'm going to go back to playing US Garage. And there was a few of us. It was me, Daryl B. A few of us said, no, enough's enough, you know. I can't play this stuff, especially with the MCs on it and all that. And that's what the garage crowd wanted. The garage crowd got younger, they wanted the MC stuff, and it just weren't for me. So around that time, I was playing for Twice as Nice, and they went to Turnmills, and me and Spoonie took the second room, and we was just playing soulful house. You know, things like It's Yours, John Cutler, and that. They were kind of sort of still a bit like garage was in the old days, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Had that flavour. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
I hear, yeah, because me, also myself. Sorry, I lost you there. What was that bit you just said?
We were still playing it quite fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah, we were playing stuff, you know, by John Cutler and Mood to Swing and
Kerry, Masters.
Yeah, and we were still speeding them up, you know, giving that kind of flavour. And it was good. It was good. It was a good time there, Twice as Nice. And then there was a massive shooting there at Turnmills one night, and that was the end of that. And I was just sort of like really disenchanted with the whole thing, you know. And then the police put me on one of those lists of DJs that you shouldn't have at your club in London. Do you remember that list?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a task force assigned, wasn't there?
Yeah, because I'd been at a lot of clubs where there were shootings. They said, you know, if you have this DJ at your club, you're more than likely to have trouble there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. So we're talking back end of the 90s.
Yeah, we're talking around the 2000.
Mm-hmm.
1999, 2000, around that time.
Yeah, I remember the infamous Millennium Night. I drove down the 2 gigs in Birmingham, drove all the way down, turned down more gigs, drove all the way down to London to some big warehouse event, and it got called off, and I was on the promise of loads of money. Got all the way down there, lost loads of money in Birmingham, and never got paid. So it was a shame. Let me just stop for one quick second and say a massive shout out to Mia. How are you, my love? Nice to see your name. And also to Sophie T, says, hi, Danny. And it's lovely to see you, Mia. Thank you for passing through and saying hello. So, yeah, and also I'm fully with you on the timeline and the story, because 2000, 2001, you're talking about Iron Apple times, which were fun, but then the onslaught of the cruise on the UKG circuit, and it was just downhill from there. I turned my back on the scene myself in 2002. I couldn't do it anymore. People just stood there waiting to hear the same old played out records, and whereas before we created the scene and people were waiting to hear new music, now it was just like they just want to hear all these anthems they've heard in Iron Apple all summer. I didn't enjoy it at all.
But yeah, so that was it. I mean, on my last trip to Napa, I was like, oh, do you know what? This is hell for me. You know? It's just absolute hell. Trouble kicking off everywhere. And I was just like, nah, I'm never coming back.
What were you doing, seeing as you'd spent all the dough? How were you surviving? How were you living? Had a job come onto the scene by now?
Yeah, I was still doing residencies here, there, and everywhere, just kind of living off my name, you know, because I'd had a little show on Kiss for a while. I've been on loads of radio stations for years, and you know, I could still get work. I weren't playing garage; I was playing house, and that's what I was doing. I still had residencies sort of every Saturday. Every Friday, you know, odd one during the week, still getting bookings up and down the country now and again, but just weren't playing garage. Just said to them, I'm not playing garage. But well, I wasn't earning, and don't get me wrong, I was living hand to mouth, you know. Yeah, so I decided to just go back to work, really, go back to doing the building company that I'd folded in sort of like 91. I decided to just start doing that again, and I was lucky because one of the architects that I'd known for years just phoned me out of the blue and said, "Look, what are you doing?" I said, "Look, I can't work Mondays because I've got a residency on a Sunday night. Can't work Fridays because I'm DJing on a Thursday night." He was like, "That's all right, just come in for 3 days." So I started doing 3 days a week, working on people's houses. And slowly did that until I met.
Where was your head at when you were playing the house music up and down the country? Did you smash it, or were you struggling with the crowds?
Well, I don't say I smashed it, and I didn't say I was struggling either. It was just kind of a journeyman thing, you know. The hype wasn't there like it was before.
Just going through the motions.
Just going through the motions. You know what it's like, and they weren't. Some of them weren't particularly sort of, because I was on an agency. A lot of them weren't particularly house clubs, you know. So you didn't go there to educate people. You went there to play the tunes, you know. So that was kind of easy. You just go there with a bag full of bangers and do your job.
Coming away feeling empty inside.
Well, not really. You know, free drinks tokens and all that.
Party animal. Dear, oh dear.
It was better than going to work, put it that way. Yeah, I got that. By the time, I think by about 2010, I'd had enough.
2009,
2010, I kind of had enough, really. I just wanted a normal job and to do a 9 to 5. I'd done it for quite a long time, and I still like to play out now and again, but I could never see myself doing that circuit again like that.
Did it not? What's the word I'm looking for? Not amaze you, because everyone that was on the scene put the graft in. They were very, you mentioned Spoonie earlier. To see his move from strength to strength and the avenues and the twists and turns he would take to make it big in the game. Do you ever think, oh wow, this is amazing how all these are doing that, but I could have and should have been there? Or are you fully aware that lazy is not the right word, you just never put the effort in to do it?
I'm not ambitious. It's as simple as that. But Spoonie, I've known Spoonie since day dot, from when we was on London Underground. And Spoonie's always been ambitious, and he's always been clever. He's always been a really good businessman. And he's shrewd, you know, as well. And he's a good entertainer. And that was always going to happen. If there was one of them class books and you say voted most likely to succeed, I think we all would have said Spoonie.
Yeah. Alongside his most shaggable DJ award.
Yeah. Him something, didn't they?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, yeah, so when you turned your back on the scene, obviously I know family life came calling.
Yeah.
Did you miss being out and about initially?
No, I'd had enough. So when Spoonie got most shaggable, I got Caner of the Year. And that was my life. Just caning it every weekend for like 10, 12 years. And it takes its toll on you. And I just wanted to be like, right, I just want a normal 9 to 5. I want to go to work, come on. And it got to the point where people were still trying to book me. And I'd take the booking and then I'd think, oh, do you know what? I really don't want to do it. And I'd ring up and say, oh, I've got the flu or whatever. And then in the end, I just stopped taking bookings.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then looking from the outside, looking in, you watched everything progressing and the scene's changed, music's come and go. In that downtime, did you listen to any music at all? Were you paying any attention, or was it just like you turned your back on everything?
No, I was still making music. I mean, I'm putting stuff out now that I made 20 years ago.
Okay.
just because I always kept like a little studio, little setup and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there was a little bit of a split in the production, wasn't there? Which we never really covered. The dynamics of Underground Solutions changed. So
yeah.
I think we should talk about that ever so briefly. Not the finer points, but Trevor went out, and then you started working with.
Yeah, well, Trevor went out, and at the same time, I met Digger, who used to run Wild Pitch in Soho, and he was A&R for Sony. And I started chatting to him. He said to me, "Can you do a cover of Denise Williams, Free?" And I said, covers. I said, "Who am I going to get to do it?" He said, "I've got this great girl from the church, Rachel John." And she came down, and over the weekend, I kind of wrote, it was kind of a similar chorus, but I just wrote a new melody for the verses and new words and lyrics and that. And he said, I'm going to send a great keyboard player down from Sony, Kevin McPherson. So Kevin came down and wrote this track, and Sony heard it, and they signed me straight away, give me 50 grand up front for one song. And I was like, yeah, nice. So I'll do this. I don't really want to be out DJing, but I'll do this. So me and Kevin, we've been together now 27 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He goes under the name of Rogue, and he's also one half of Cafe 432 with Jonesy.
Okay, so he's the secret weapon that Jones is always talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't Jones.
Well, it's funny actually how that would come up. We'll say belated birthday greetings to Jonesy. Yeah. I do keep meaning to get him on, and that has prompted me to speak to him. Not even the Benjamin Button. He's not the Benjamin Button. Is it? What would we call him? He's definitely sold his soul to the devil. Handsome looking dude.
Who can we refer to him that's like he's had loads of plastic surgery? Mickey Rourke.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll definitely get him on to defend himself.
UK Garage, isn't he? Jonesy.
Oh, happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday, guys.
Beautiful. So you were still making music. Family life came and went, so to speak. Tell us about your wonderful offspring.
Yeah, so even when Freddie was born, me and Kev would still come to my studio on a Sunday, and we'd knock something up. We'd do 3 or 4 hours or something. And but we've been living off that now for the last few years, because quite a lot of them we've signed on to labels, or we've put out ourselves again. But we never put anything out. But we wrote loads of songs, and we worked with loads of people. I mean, we even had Kelly LaRocque in at that time. Did stuff with Kelly. We did stuff with. We're putting out stuff now that we did with Robbie Craig during those years. That never a day. They're all sort of 10, 15-year-old tracks, and we've just remixed them and polished them up and stuff. So yeah, and then Freddie come along, and I was with his mum, and then when we split up. About, I think I didn't really do anything for a while, and then I started to reboot the label again about 4 years ago. And
was this just before lockdown then, really?
Yeah, just before lockdown. And I'll tell you someone else I've been working with for years, someone I know from my old neighbourhood, is Chris Bass. I don't know if you've heard about Chris.
Chris Bass.
Yeah, he's more on the garage house.
Okay.
Thing. But yeah, me and Chris have known each other for years, and we've got a little production team now called Hustler Social Club. We've been doing a load of boots, really, and just give away. Really, we did a Stevie Wonder one.
I love the fact how you just blatant on it. Yeah, we're doing loads of boots. This is who we are. That's me. I don't care. It's all cloak and daggers before.
Yeah. We used to do loads of boots back in the day, me and Trevor, and we never ever put our name to them.
No. Well,
now.
if only you knew anyone who owned a record store who used to be able to press them up. That would have been useful, wouldn't it?
Well, we did. We had a distribution company. I don't know if you remember Arthur down in Bristol.
No.
What was his company called? Vinyl Distribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking a little closer to home, sort of like around Soho area. But we'll move on. We'll move.
Oh, yeah, everyone was at it. I mean, they even used to boot our stuff. I mean, when Get Happy was a big tune, we did 10,000. But people have told me, no, you did about 30,000. That's because if there was a big tune out, anyone who owned a pressing plant would just copy it and start selling them. I know Gary Dillon had somebody come in his shop to sell him his own tune. He went crazy.
It's a madness. It's a madness, as they say.
All went on. When you think if there was a tune out there selling what 2,000 a week, and you got a pressing plant, you can just copy the label, press it up, start selling them out the back of it.
That's a whole different conversation right there.
Yeah.
It's lots of chuckles in the chat room as everyone's in the chat stream, as everyone's reading this. Gary's like, I got it, Andy, don't worry. Okay, so Freddie came, relationship came and went, and we were talking earlier and you said you started to get a little bit of itchy feet.
Yeah, I was bored. Well, I was going to say something else. Senseless, I'll say. I was bored, senseless. And I just needed something to do again. So I was just got the Mac out, looking through. I was like, yeah, that's not a bad tune. That's not a bad tune. Ring Kevin up. Right, let's finish some of these tunes and get them out. So started the ball rolling again. And then I bumped into... I put a few tunes out. I put a tune out with Kelly LaRock. And DJ Fenn was like, oh, I love that tune, love that tune. Why don't you come and do a guest mix on the show? So I was like, this is about 4 years ago. So I was like, yeah, I'll come up. So I went up there and I bumped into Roy the Roach. So me and Roy have been sort of on the same scene all these years. So Roy said to me, what are you doing? You doing any radio? I said, no, I'm not doing any radio. He said, oh, come and join us at my house then. And to be honest with you, Anne, I hadn't done no mixing for quite a few years, you know? And everything had changed. It was all digital. You had to have a memory stick, and I didn't know how to do anything. And I'm a techno. My mates call me techno spaz. I'm useless. But don't worry, I'll help you. Well, he didn't know what he was getting himself into, because every 10 minutes I'm on the phone with him. Roy, what do I do now? I'm trying to upload this show and stuff. Yeah, it's thanks to Roy, really. He got me back in. He supported me. He supported my music. He gets me the shows on My Soul. So I can't thank Roy enough. He's such a lovely fella. That's how I kind of got back into it again, really.
Nice. Well, Luke says, boom, Danny, the Underground Solutions legend. And he says, you socialite, much love. You made the scene. You lot made the scene when it was top notch. Respect. Now, him saying that the socialite, were you the socialites with Rupert?
Yeah, that was me and Rude Boy Rupert. Yeah,
I do remember that. And did you do a cover of "I Can't Help It"? Do Michael Jackson cover?
That, and I've heard you play my mix of Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. I've got loads of your stuff. I was actually going through my record box earlier, ready for a vocal booth, and it was just coincidentally just Danny Foster. I was like, wow, bad boy. Thank you, Luke, for reminding me of that. I completely forgot all about the socialites as well.
Did quite a few bits. But we signed on to different people and that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rupert's doing some bits now. He's just started doing some bits again.
Really, really good stuff with Chili Funk. We had them all on. I've had Rupert on a few times. So, still useless at pushing yourself. Not really interested in going out and DJing publicly.
I'm not really that interested. No, no. I love Lou. I love playing for my soul. I love doing my charity events that I do every year, and I love the odd gig now and again, you know. But I don't want to be out every weekend gigging.
What is your discipline like now? What's the self-control like when you're out and about?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Because you were talking about doing a lot of work, the charity work. You mentioned just while we were waiting to go live, work that you do with Calm. Do you want to talk about that? Because it's an important thing to mention.
Well, it's something close to me because my brother took his own life about 12 years ago. And my brother was the life and soul of the party. He was someone that you would never think in a million years he would have took his own life because he hid it so well, you know. But he split up with his partner, hit the drink, and just, you know, just did something stupid in a split second. And that was that. And it happens a lot. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's an insurance assessor. And she said it's the biggest killer of men between the ages of 25 and 50. So, you know, for years, I couldn't really talk about it. I couldn't really even comprehend that my brother would do something like that because I just didn't think it was him. But I'm glad that I'm doing something positive about it now, you know? Something that I can talk about now without getting upset, and something that I'm glad that we're doing. Me and Steve Seck also do it. Steve Seck's got a label called Tip Top, and we just put out tracks and all the money goes to Calm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
a good thing.
Steve, feel free to put a link in the comments, please, and we'll get that promoted. And you're still doing the guest mixes and the charity works you saying about Louise as well down in Brighton. Is it mainly on the coast, the stuff that you did down there?
Yeah, we did a Calm thing down on the coast a little while ago. Me, Steve Seck, Chris Bass, a lot of people came down. What was his name? You mentioned him earlier. Oh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Oh God!
To do with what?
He used to play with us at Release, and Gary. What's his name again?
Not Dean.
No, Paul Spring.
Paul Spring.
Yeah, Paul Spring came down. Simon Van Os. Lots of DJs come down. We raised a few quid for Calm. So we're doing that every year. And with Steve Seck, we're putting tracks out, and all the money from that goes to Calm. So it's just good to be doing something positive and it's good to be talking about it because you know what fellas are like, especially, you know, fellas from a certain area and that they're supposed to be tough and they wouldn't talk about it and they'd rather kill themselves than say something, you know?
Mm-hmm. So it's good. It's good. Noble to be shining light on it, most definitely.
Well, yeah, it's good. It's just nice. And it's nice for my mum to see that I'm doing something good.
Was she ever concerned for you? I mean, we joked about you being Counter of the Year. Did you ever get into that much of a mess that it was, you know, things were starting to fall apart?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
It's a proper journey. And well, the thing is, when you look back, you know, you look over your shoulder and you think, you know, because we can't. You say, "Fuck me, what a ride that has been." You know, you know, and you of all people are going to have stories from the early days, the boxing, the streets, the scene that we went through, living the high life. Everything. It's have you ever been approached to, you know, do documentaries, books, stuff like that? Have you not got that in you?
Well, I did actually go to I spent the whole summer at the Gaucho Club in Soho doing a screenwriter's course.
Okay.
And I did actually sit down and write a film based on the scene and the things that had happened during that time and everything. I did a first draft and I had to stand up and present it and everything like that. And they said, I'll go away, do another draft. And I read that back and it was so rubbish.
Well, I mean, the content is definitely there. You just probably need a little bit of help to
That's what I probably need.
Because other people have done a terrible job of trying to capture that.
I just don't want to be one of them. I actually know someone, right, who put all his money into making this film. I won't say who it was because he's suffering from depression now because it got slated so bad. And yeah, that could have been me.
It is a slippery slope because you as a creative, you are really opening yourself up for criticism, aren't you? Really?
Oh, you do. Every time you put a track out, you're opening yourself up for criticism. That's why a lot of people, you know, they go, I'm working on this track, I'm working on that track. I say, well, yeah, well, put something out. You've got 500 tracks on your computer. You've never put nothing out. Bite the bullet. Put something out. Because I think when you first start making music, you can fall into that trap, you know, of just making tracks and never putting them out. But you know, I'll put tracks out and people have absolutely slated them. But you just crack on, don't you? Go and make another one, make it better.
Yeah, but that's my audio's started to. Oh, mate, my audio's playing up now. Can you hear me okay, or does it sound terrible? I think my computer's about to die.
I can hear you fine, Anne.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll carry on. If it's recording, it should be okay. My apologies. Let me know in the chat. In my ears, I sound like a robot. If it sounds okay, I'll carry on. If it's dead, there's no point. Chris joins us. Chris Bass joins us in the chat. He's saying good evening. Gary is saying Battersea Barge, whatever that means. No.
Yeah, the Battersea Barge. Well, that was a place on Earth. I did try and tell you. I was telling you about that. It would be called the Twilight Zone. It was myself and Andy B. And it opened at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was just a big boat on the Thames at 9 Elms that had 2 floors. And we used to ram it Friday, Saturday morning and Sunday morning after the calf on a Saturday night. Lots of people would come back down. Lots of people come from the ministry. Gary came down there with us a few times and had a good time. It was kind of a legendary place until the police shut it down eventually. Once they got wind of what was going on, they raided it one Sunday. And I'll never forget, they raided it with like the submachine guns and their helmets with their flashlight on it and all that. And they came in like, everyone get on the floor. So you got all these guys in like Machino, you know, all proper expensive suits going, we ain't getting on the floor. And they're going, get on the floor, get on the floor. And they're going, we ain't getting on the floor. That's what they did. And they was just screaming, get on the floor. They're going, we ain't getting on the floor. And I looked around. I was in the DJ room. I looked around. Andy B was on the floor, spread eagle. I went, what are you doing on the floor? It don't mean us, you want. Oh, it was brilliant. People were just refusing to get on the floor. The floor was covered in beer and where everyone had discarded their drugs. The amount of drugs that were on the floor was ridiculous. But yeah, it was brilliant.
It sounds like a scene. It sounds like a scene out of Lock, Stock. Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I've been assured that it all sounds fine, but it is. I'm really struggling to hear what you're saying now. Are there any twists and turns that we? Well, I know there's so much that we haven't covered, so much that we've missed, and I'll definitely like to bring you back on. Maybe we'll get Andy B to come on and he can tell us about that. There's so many guys, so many stories. Any chunks in there? I guarantee when we finish, you're going to say, I can't believe I didn't talk about X, Y, and Z, you know?
Yeah. Well, the music box was a big thing for us in Clapham, which was like a bar come nightclub on the corner in Clapham High Street, and it was one of the first places in Clapham that we sort of took Steve Butcher, my mate, took a sound system in there, and we'd have nights there and lock-ins all the time, you know. And that was a great time during the garage period, because we would just have lock-ins there all the time. And that was a great crowd of people in Clapham, like a big crowd of people. And DJs passing through, like Jada Flex used to come play there. Funky Smith played there. Mm-hmm. Loads of people would just turn up and play. No one got paid.
Mm. So that you're talking, that's got to be like 94 to 96 kind of times.
Yeah, 94 right through to about 97, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Those were the glory days. I cite them as the glory days.
Yeah, they were great times for us, especially having like the landlord at that place. He would let us just do what we like, you know. Mm-hmm. It was like 11 o'clock, lock the doors. If you want to come in, you have to come around the back, knock on the door. Someone will look out the window on the top of your head, find out who it is, see if we'd let you in or not. But yeah, great people in that area in Clapham. People all walks of life, you know. You had like actors, comedians, really posh people, middle class people, working class people. It was just a terrific crowd. I met so many good people that are still friends. And that's the other good thing about clubbing. You must know so many people, Andy, you're still friends with to this day, mm-hmm. that you've made through music.
Oh, totally. And that's why I love having these conversations. You know, you and I, we haven't really spoken for many, many years recently, but there was a time where we were hanging out regularly, and, you know, nearly 30 years going back. So, you know, these are, you're one of the guys I consider to be like a very good friend, even though we haven't spoken in a long time, because we have got so many of those stories to share, you know.
Like yesterday, isn't it? It was like it happened yesterday.
I say that.
I mean, me and you are lucky. We still look the same, man. It's them poor sods. Yeah. It's them poor sods. I won't mention any names, but you know they are. They look like they should be drawing their pension.
Well, no, I haven't even thought that. I haven't even thought of them. How's that for diplomatic? Well, listen, I'm going to have to cut this short because this sound is doing my head in, and I know people are going to give me some grief. But Danny, we'll definitely do it again. Thank you for taking your time, because I know you're actually on the road at the moment, right? Not the same as touring the UK for a DJ gig. You're in digs now, right?
I am touring the UK as a builder.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've got a country doing renovation and restoration. That's what I'm doing now.
Beautiful.
In between London, going to the studio now and again with Kevin. But yeah, we've got loads of stuff coming out, so look out for our stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so it's still as Underground Solutions, right?
No, Danny Foster and Rogue. And we've got another production outfit with Chris Bass called the Hustler Social Club.
You did say that. That's me not paying attention. Okay, well, check him out. We'll be sure to put some links in the comments on here. Danny, thank you, buddy. I'll leave you to the rest of your evening. I've loved this conversation. Brother. Thank you, mate. Take care. Right, my apologies everybody for having to cut that short, but it is absolutely impossible for me to hear anything. Thank you to everyone for communicating inside the chat. It is always nice to have people watching, talking while they're watching. I try to make it as interactive as I can, so your comments have been appreciated. Shout out to Sinewave, to Daniel, to John, to Gary, as always, to Mia. I'll say again, a big hug for you, my love. Thanks for passing through. And everyone else that's checked it out, that's enjoyed Danny's stories, Steve Seck as well. Coming up next week, I'll be chatting to Frosty. And also next week, I'm going to have a double header. So Frosty, I'm not sure what day it is, Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll confirm. And then I'm also next week on Friday going to be talking to Bobby Zoo as we get ready to have another Garage City reunion. I'll be down in London on the 7th of October. It's the weekend after the Vocal Booth Weekender. So if you're out and about in London, do come and say hello. I don't play out and about on the scene anymore, so I'm really looking forward to doing that gig in Garage City to play to many of the people who inspired me on my journey. Thank you all, everybody. I'll press this button and send a shout out to all the crew who support me on a regular basis. I call them the Access crew. They are all subscribed to my Access plan. I'm actually going to be changing that after Vocal Booth, and I'll be sharing details on how you can be a part of the stream if you want. Get your name shown here at the end. Get your club nights branded on the stream and all kind of ting there. Thank you for your eyes and ears. And if you need any websites, I'm your man. Take care.